Greetings. This is Justin Allen with the Elite Nurse Practitioner. Welcome to the Elite Nurse Practitioner Show, podcast dedicated to nurse practitioner entrepreneurism and achieving financial freedom, where I talk directly with nurse practitioners who need help. Listen up, our market is saturated. Jobs can be scarce. We are underpaid. We are undervalued. We are taken advantage of by the sharks within the healthcare system, and frankly, screw that. Sick of it, and it's time for a change. And listen, I'm here to help make that happen. We are powerful. We can forge a path where we are in control of our career and ultimately our financial and personal well-being. You do not need to submit to healthcare administrators and your doctor overlords. You do not have to take a measly salary. You do not have to work 50 to 60 hours a week. There is a different way, and I'm here to show you that path. This podcast is raw and unfiltered. I have not talked to the nurse practitioners in this podcast prior to the call outside of an email exchange to schedule the episode. What you're about to listen to is a consultation session between a nurse practitioner and myself. It is real, it is unscripted, it is unplanned, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about. Anything and everything can happen during our conversation. The nurse practitioners in these episodes are struggling with an issue in their professional or financial life, and they have reached out to me for help. My goal is to help the nurse practitioner with actionable advice that will enhance and improve their professional, business, and financial life. My other goal is to hopefully help my nurse practitioner sisters and brothers build a more productive, powerful, and free life. So I hope the content and information within these podcast episodes does just that. All right, onto the episode. Hey everyone, today we are going to be speaking with Shawnna. She is a nurse practitioner located in Las Vegas. She just started a men's health practice. She is looking for help with pricing her services, some basic financial planning, tax strategies within her practice, how she's going to pay herself and those sorts of things, some basic marketing and referral program help. And she is also needing some pep talk on practicing outside of guidelines, maybe providing treatments that might not necessarily be FDA approved or considered off label. So we are going to chat with Shawnna about some certain aspects with getting this practice up and running, and hopefully I can help her out. Hey, Shawnna, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Hey, thanks for hopping on this podcast. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So let's just jump right into this. So bring me up to speed. So how long have you been a nurse practitioner for? What's been your experience? Bring us up to speed on where you're at in life.
Okay. So I'm 44. So I'm a bit of a late bloomer. I've been a nurse practitioner for 6.5 years now. So I've recertified once. Thank goodness.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was a nurse for 10-ish years. Prior to that, I was a nurse's aide. So I've never done anything outside of healthcare my entire adult life.
Sure.
So I started at a nursing home when I was 15 years old and just kept on moving. Single mom, put myself through school. No trust fund baby here, that's for sure. So everything I've done on my own with a lot of student loan debt.
Yeah.
So my NP background is I've done mostly primary care. I've done a lot of infectious diseases. I've done a lot of hospice. Most usually Medicare patients are kind of my wheelhouse. However, I'm currently working full-time in a primary care practice where I see a lot of younger folk, which is an adventure.
Sure. And so you're basically looking to break free, it sounds like. So you started a men's health clinic recently, right?
I did, yeah. So previously I have done house calls on my own. I opened a little house calls practice here in Las Vegas. It's hot. So, and you can only do so many visits per day. So it's not really sustainable if you want to make any kind of money. It's not the way to go. So Too hot, can't get enough patients in a day to make it profitable. So I'm sort of weaning that out and kind of phasing into men's health. Completely different tracks. I get that.
Yeah. So the house call was just more or less just primary care, general care kind of stuff.
Very, very ill patients. So elderly Medicare patients, chronic diseases, too sick to get out of their house.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you were billing insurance.
Oh, yeah.
I see. Gotcha. And what's making you want to get out of that? Are you just kind of just burned out on it or what?
Out of house calls specifically, it's too hot in Las Vegas.
So that's the main reason.
That's the big driver.
All right. Gotcha. Weather, climate related. Okay. That's interesting. That's a first. I've never heard that one before. So you want to focus on this men's health thing. So I guess let me ask you this real quick. I guess how well were you doing with the house call thing? Were you actually making any money?
Not really. No, it was more of a passion project because I have hospice background and I see this need of this patient that can't get out of the house and they're not exactly hospice and they're not exactly well enough to get to the office. So it was kind of just here and there, word of mouth, people who needed me kind of thing. It's just not sustainable and too hot.
All right. So bring us up to speed then with where you're at now. So you just started a men's health practice. I believe you like literally just saw your first patient.
Yeah, well, I'm doing this all telehealth. So I literally just ordered labs for my first 2 patients today. So I've just kind of, the reason I'm even interested in it is my fella, he was interested in it. He's like, oh yeah, my guys at work, they're all on this. And so then I started looking into it. And of course I read the guidelines, which say, oh no, you do not fit into this box. You are not low T, this is not you. And then, he went against my advice, which was to not mess with it. And he did it. And then I saw this huge change in him. And then I was like, okay, there's something to this. And so I was looking for a course and I found your course. And that's basically your first men's health course. That's how I've done pretty much everything you told me to do in that course. And I'm just now today sending out my first labs.
Well, congratulations. You jumped right in. So have you got the labs back yet?
Oh, no, I just sent them today.
So you just sent them. Okay. So you are like brand real new. Green here. Like this real is green. Fresh fish territory. Like you are like brand new. Yeah.
I'll probably be calling you once I get the results.
That's fine. So I guess let me ask you, how did you get these first patients? I mean, do you got a website up? Are you marketing? How's everything going?
Okay, so I'm so bad at this, right? So I am paying someone to work on a website. It's going to cost me about $3,000 total. And I think that's a fair price. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, for a decent website, I think $3,000 is reasonable.
It's in the build process. So they're working on phase 1 right now. Well, he is. It's somebody that we found here in Las Vegas. Seems excellent. Okay. So he's working on the first phase of that. I have zero marketing plan other than my fellow works with a bunch of men. So he works in the car business and all of his friends want to do this. And so that is who are my first patients. They're my trial people, and I'm going to see how this works. And then after that, I have no clue how to market this.
I mean, listen, I think going into this kind of without a real plan is actually going to be beneficial because you're going to learn a lot along the way here. And I mean, this is how you do it. You just learn as you go. I mean, no MBA or anything can prepare you for actually starting a business. So congratulations for just jumping right in. I think experimenting with maybe some friends or family at first too is a smart move. Hell, you might be able to build a pretty strong little practice here just from word of mouth alone. You never know.
I'm hoping, because I've heard how Facebook ads and Instagram ads are being blocked. So if you use the words testosterone, they'll knock your stuff off their platform.
Yeah, it's pretty much impossible. It's literally impossible. Yeah. I actually had this conversation with another guest on the podcast as well. And like, it's almost impossible to advertise men's health on Facebook. So I would say just not even really bother with that at first right now. So I guess, how can I help you? I know you were having some concerns about guidelines. So do you want to start there?
Yeah. Let's start there. I think I'm a severe imposter syndrome because, everything I've done, I've been doing healthcare my whole life. I'm pretty solid in many aspects, but this stuff that is the outliers without the guidelines, without other people agreeing with me seems odd.
Sure. Is that the main fear behind it? Is that you feel like you're going against guidelines and no one else is doing this?
I know some people are doing this. From your courses online, I realized that 90% of testosterone prescriptions are written outside of the guidelines. I get that.
90%. So that means you're actually really following the standard of care compared to the 10% who are following the guidelines, right?
Yeah.
Right. Very few providers actually follow those guidelines. They're garbage.
It just feels weird that I can't look it up in a medical journal and have it agree with me. That's the hard part.
So the thing about testosterone replacement therapy, interestingly enough, is that those numbers that they determined, that number 300 total testosterone was actually just a number they just came up with. Like there was very little literature supporting that when those guidelines, were first designed. And so it's garbage. I mean, they just basically made this number up. Okay. And now it's based off of averages of the population. So first and foremost, the ranges of the total testosterone number is a reflection of our sick, fat, and lazy population. And so every 15% increase in body fat results in a 200 point reduction in total testosterone. So when the majority of the population is overweight and obese, testosterone levels are going to be low, right?
Yep.
So those ranges are garbage. You check those ranges in a country of people who are healthy, it's going to be a lot higher. Or if you look at the ranges of total testosterone, 30, 40 years ago, they were much higher than what they are now. I mean, men were just more manly 40, 50 years ago. They just were, right? I'm sure you can't disagree with that.
No, not at all. Yeah.
So don't worry too much about the ranges. You know what I mean? It's just a number. You're not treating a number, you're treating the patient, correct?
Correct.
And so, the thing about these guidelines too is that they're designed with insurance companies' interests in mind. And so insurance doesn't want to pay for these things. And so the lower the number cutoff for treating someone with testosterone, the better it is for the insurance company because they don't have to pay for it, right? And so assigning this number of 250, 300 total testosterone is absolutely ridiculous. A guy who is 30 years old, who has a testosterone level of 300, that's not normal. It's not age adjusted. But according to the guidelines, don't treat him, he's fine. It's something else. Put him on an antidepressant instead. Garbage. It's complete nonsense. And you start that 30-year-old on testosterone replacement therapy, you get his level up to 700 or 800, he's a completely new person. He gets off of his psychiatric medications. He's a new man.
Yes. Where are your thresholds with this? So, if you get someone who's come in to see me or called me on the phone, as we're doing telehealth here, and say they're 30 and their levels are 500, but they have symptoms. Do you have like a number where you're like, okay, this is my hard stop. This guy doesn't need me.
Do I have a number? Yes, it's 550 total testosterone. Do I follow that number? Not always. So remember, you have the sex hormone binding globulin, right? Mm-hmm. That's going to bind up the testosterone. If someone's SHBG is elevated, they're free. So for example, I've seen someone's total testosterone of 700. Okay. His sex hormone binding globulin was like 90. It was through the roof. He had every single hypogonadal symptom in the book, every single one of them. His free testosterone was like 6. I treated the guy. I got his free testosterone up to like 15. He was a completely different person. It completely alleviated all his symptoms. You can't just use a total testosterone number. You really have to look at the free testosterone as well. And so, those numbers, if I got a guy coming in with a total testosterone level of 700, his free testosterone is 20, and he's complaining that he might feel a little fatigued, I'm not putting that guy on testosterone. He doesn't need it.
And then on the flip side of that, what about people who are on the service? Because a lot of these guys that are coming to me are just switching from someone else's service. And do you have a top range where you're like, okay, and more is not better for you?
1,200.
Okay.
Total testosterone.
Of course,
the ranges in the past went all the way up to 1,600. And so if we were still using those ranges now, even getting someone at 1,200 would still be reasonable. It would still be in range, right? But now the ranges are, 250 to 800. It's completely ridiculous. But in terms of like the guidelines though, okay, yes, you're practicing outside of guidelines. Yes, you are prescribing a treatment that is not FDA approved for the given indication. Yes, you're prescribing a medication off label. Yes. Is there anything illegal about this? No.
As long as you follow those rules and just, DEA guidelines and whatnot.
Right. Be reasonable, right? Don't operate a pill mill. Just don't. You never want to operate a pill mill. Never, 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 never operate a pill mill. Don't operate a testosterone mill. Okay. There's plenty of places that do that. Don't be that person. Treat symptoms. It's alternative medicine, basically, right?
Yeah, I have a whole lot to learn here. So what about, my goal is I'm taking your advanced men's health course right now.
Okay.
And so I feel like I'm going to be adding some of the peptides and some of the other DHEA and all these other things that come along with it. But at first, until I kind of feel out what I'm doing, I felt like I would hold off on that until I kind of understood this better. You think that's an appropriate approach, or do you think I should just take 2 weeks and learn it all?
I mean, a lot of the concepts in the advanced course, I probably wouldn't do that right from the get-go. I mean, some peptides are fine, but I wouldn't be doing anything too crazy yet. Just get your feet wet with just using testosterone as a PNA, do blood work, follow up with the patients in 8 weeks, get a good understanding of following up, readjusting doses and those sorts of things before you don't bite off more than you can chew, basically. Try to keep it simple at first.
Okay. And what we had decided is I was going to do a 10-week sort of subscription type model.
10-week. Okay. Explain that.
The reason is because the way that it's shipped to me, I've hooked up with Empower Pharmacy. So it's 10 doses in one vial.
Well, really depending on the dose that you're prescribing them though.
Average. So average, I assume, is, of 150 to 200 milligrams a week.
Right. Yeah, I mean, 150 to 200 milligrams a week is going to be probably too much for most patients, to be honest with you. I found the sweet spot to really be about 120.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
What would you suggest for a interval subscription type model?
I think just monthly. So never price your services or never design a subscription model around one pharmacy or one vendor's product or service, because that vendor can always stop providing you that product. And then you're basically shit out of luck and you're having to redesign your subscription program.
Okay, yeah, I'm struggling with HCG, of course. That's a whole other topic, but
that's a whole other topic. We can talk about that here in a little bit. But yeah, I don't think it's very viable. I would stick with monthly.
Okay, and so do you just ship then smaller quantity?
I typically ship them out 3 month supplies.
Okay. So 3 month supplies, but you bill them each month.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And like I've talked about before, don't worry about these people screwing you over. They're not going to.
Right. They love this stuff.
They love it. Exactly. They're not going to. Okay. Yeah. Don't worry about that. So just charge them on a monthly basis and make sure you're hitting that $100, $120 a month profit margin per patient per month.
Okay. Yeah, we're definitely doing that. But do you do anything like if you pay 3 months in advance, then you get this percentage of a discount?
Yeah. So 3 months, I give them 5% off. 6 months, I give them 10% off. If they want to buy a year, I give them 20% off.
Oh, okay.
It's always better to have all the money up front.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Do you have any questions about pricing?
No, because you just busted my whole 10-week program idea.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to rework those numbers a bit. So we're looking at like $4.99 for a 10-week program on average. And then you would add a little bit more if I have to add a tadalafil or something of that sort. And then HCG, we were going to add a little bit more, but that's so expensive. And I've currently no one to get it from.
HCG is practically impossible to get right now. The FDA has really come down on compounded HCG. They're requiring these compounding pharmacies to have this biological license. And, this biological license is extremely expensive, and the regulations surrounding it's ridiculous. So all these compounding pharmacies are like, it's not worth the investment. It's a real disservice to patients.
It is, yeah. And
it really is.
That you can get it from right now? I tried South Lake Pharmacy, they don't have it. I've tried a few places around here locally and nobody has it.
Yeah, I believe, as of the recording of this podcast in, essentially the beginning of December 2021, Revive RX, I think, has HCG. And I think a pharmacy called Hollandale has HCG. But I haven't confirmed that because I'm moving all my patients off of HCG.
What are you putting them on?
I'm just going to put them on Clomid.
What do you think about Clomid?
I think it's great. A lot of people don't like it. I've never had any problems with it. Some people say it's a dirty medication. I don't see that. I think that at a very low dose, only dosed once or twice a week, it's enough to maintain testicular function, basically, and preserve fertility and preserve testicular function.
Okay, good. So what is the dose on Clomid? What do you dose?
Yeah, I'm just doing 50 milligrams once a week or twice a week, just depending on their fertility goals.
Okay.
It's cheap. It works. All the guys that I've, put on Clomid to maintain testicular function, majority of them say they feel better on it than HCG. Go figure.
Okay. That's worth a shot.
It's all anecdotal stuff, but that's what I'm hearing.
Okay. So I think that, maybe one more question about the practice itself this way, I guess, would be a financial one. Referral program. Do you do that? And do you think it's a good idea? So like what I mean is a patient comes in and he says, oh, hey, I've got 4 buddies over here. And then we give patient A a discount because he brings in patient B, C, and D.
So with referral,
scratch fine with like urologists or anything of that sort.
Yeah. So with referral programs, you're not supposed to financially benefit from it. These Stark laws, these different acts, kickbacks and stuff. Some states have regulations against referral programs and some states don't. This is a cash practice. So a lot of this stuff doesn't apply to us. But with a referral program, sure. I don't mind giving them a discount for a referral. Some practices have huge referral programs and do very well with them. I don't see a problem whatsoever giving someone 10% off for a patient referral.
Okay.
And it tends to be a pretty solid and cheap marketing strategy. There's really no reason that you need to pay for tracking software for that. Just a simple Excel sheet's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I hope everyone's enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick break to thank everyone listening and also give a big thank you to all of my social media followers and email subscribers. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our email list at www.elitenp.com and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Email subscribers will receive updates on new weekly podcast episodes, multiple weekly articles we publish, new courses, and everything else related to helping you succeed. Remember, all Elite Nurse Practitioner courses are designed to help you build a niche practice, increase your financial strength, and to break free from the rat race. If I can break free and that other countless nurse practitioners can break free, then so can you. Additionally, please share this podcast with your other nurse practitioner sisters and brothers out there. The more NPs that venture out on their own, the stronger our profession will become. Now, let's get back to the episode.
So on the first men's health course, there is some consent forms. May I steal them?
Yeah, that's what they're there for.
Okay, good. I've already stolen them. I just wanted to.
Yeah. No. You paid for those consent forms. Every Elite MP course has consent forms included with them. Use them. That's what I use.
Good. Yeah, because I didn't put any effort into that. I just stole yours.
Yeah, like literally just throw your LLC's name in them and call it a day. I mean, they're pretty solid.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah. So do you have any other questions in terms of, marketing your practice?
No, I think I'm just so clueless. I'm just going to fumble through this until I either make it or break it. So, I mean, this isn't my income source. My income source is my full-time job. This is my hobby, my hopefully not a pipe dream. It would be nice if I could do it full-time, but I do not intend for this to be, if it blows up, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too.
Sometimes just starting it off as just a little side business, a little hobby, after a couple of years, it might turn into a full-fledged, full-time business. I mean, I know one MP who just started a little part-time wellness practice, and within a year is just absolutely just insanely killing it, like 80,000 a month in revenue. I mean, just ridiculous numbers.
Oh, wow.
So you never know. But
Nice.
I think going into this with no real expectations will not set you up for disappointment.
Well, my fella has already, in his mind, bought the house on the hill and is already retired. So he's got way higher expectations than I do. But it could be the testosterone talking.
Yeah, it's probably is. It can make some guys a little too overconfident. Yeah, that's why we're all immortals at 17 years old. Yeah. No, I think that's pretty reasonable. I think it's a pretty reasonable strategy, just kind of start this off as a little experiment on the side. You're not putting a whole lot of money into it and just kind of see what happens. I think that's really one of the smartest ways to start a business. I really do. I feel like that if you go into a business with, just putting $5,000 into it, no real expectations, kind of just let it do its thing while you're still working. There's very little to risk here. I mean, it's $5,000,
Yeah, that's exactly what I've done. Yeah, I've just really $5,000. And that's now the goal is to just roll this cash back into it until it funds a clinical, like a location, only because I passed my dispensing board. So I think I could get some supplies cheaper. I could do this, maybe have a higher profit margin if I actually had a clinic, but then all that overhead may make that not worth it. So that's kind of still all up in the air.
No, the margins on dispensing medications would be worth it. Trust me.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I mean, you could buy bottles of Tadalafil, Cialis, Viagra for absolutely nothing and sell it for a pretty healthy profit. So it makes it worth it.
Okay. Well,
for sure. So speaking of, time that you're going to be putting in this, since, this is just a very kind of a part-time practice, other MPs that I talk to, they go, full time, which I don't think is wise. I think it's too risky to just jump right into it without, having a significant amount of savings in the bank. What you're doing is smart. So what's your schedule going to look like here? You're going to work full time. Is this 4 or 5 days a week full time or?
Yeah, I work currently my full-time jobs, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. It's slow here. They've just got me credentialed. So, I did a hospice visit already, once today. Outside of I do hospice on the side. So I'm not overworked currently. So I expect that I'll be doing Zoom calls or FaceTime calls or however I decide to do the telehealth in the evening and on the weekends. And since it's all telehealth, I don't think it's going to be overwhelming, particularly since I expect my numbers to be pretty low. I feel like if I had 30 patients in a month, I could easily handle that.
Oh, easy. So if you have 30 patients, you would be looking at, you see the patient once every 3 months. You'd have a panel of almost 100 patients, right?
Yeah.
Each one you're generating $100 profit off of. You're making $10,000 a month and you're only working, 10 hours, 10 or 12 hours a month.
Yeah. That's the goal. This is just a side gig. So
great.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, so like financially, starting this practice, where are you coming in at? I mean, are you making a pretty decent salary if you don't mind to share it with us?
Yeah. Do you want me to share actual numbers or like?
I mean, that's totally up to you. You can give us a ballpark or actual numbers. I think everyone would really like to know kind of like, where you're coming in this from a risk standpoint.
Yeah. So for me, I know it sounds silly, but we sold a car and I made $5,000 in the car. That's where I got the $5,000 from.
Oh,
So, right.
great.
Because cars are ridiculous right now because you could sell a car and would make way more money on it than you paid for it.
Yeah.
The market with COVID and everything. But so with my current job, you can bleep this out if this is too much, but I'm making 130-ish, right around there. So, and it's easy peasy cake work. It's not bad at all. So that's where I'm coming at with my current income. My fellow works, he brings in 6 figures. So we're okay.
Yeah.
This is for fun. I do have a mountain of student loans that I just intend to pay on for the rest of my life. But
How much student loans do you have?
do you really want to know?
Sure.
It's embarrassing. Remember that I was a single mother. I paid my rent with my student loans when I was going through school, but I'm like $140,000.
Okay. It's not the worst number I've ever heard.
At least. Yeah. I'm sure there's some interest tacked on there that I'm not aware of since I haven't been paying on them through COVID.
Yeah. Do you care about paying those off?
Gosh, no, I don't ever want to pay them off. I just want to pay the minimum and deal with it for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Isn't that a horrible? I'm just kidding. I do want them paid off, but it's such a mountain. I don't even know what to do with that.
Well, how's your other situation looking like in terms of like just like your overall debt in life?
Yeah, so I don't have much debt. My fella has quite a bit of debt. And so right now we're tackling his debt. And we use kind of the Dave Ramsey sort of snowballish kind of thing to tackle his debt. But it's mostly credit card debt. We don't have any car loans. We don't have a mortgage because when we moved out here, I rented and I really wasn't sure I was going to stay in Las Vegas. I didn't love it for the first few years, but now I feel like I'm stuck here. So I think we would be ready to buy. However, the market right now we're not even thinking about that to buy a house. So basically, if no mortgage, no car payments, we have some credit card debt and have a mountain of student loans.
So basically the student loan debt is really just the overwhelming amount of just debt hanging over your head.
Yeah, I have a son that we pay for a ridiculously expensive private school for, but that's, money well spent.
Sure.
I'm sure we could shave our costs in many places. We just haven't.
Okay. So just for everyone listening that doesn't know what the debt snowball method is, it's basically paying off your lowest debt first. And then the amount of money you were spending a month on that debt, you roll it over to your next debt, and then you pay that debt off, and then you roll over all that money amount into another debt and so forth until you get to your biggest debt amount. That's pretty much what you're doing, right?
Except rather than it being the smallest debt, we do what the highest interest rate.
Okay, gotcha. That works too.
Highest payment. So if we have something that's a higher payment, we work on that one first.
Sure.
Then you get more to snowball.
Which is the credit card debt, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, pay that shit off. That stuff is so bad for you. In terms of the housing market right now goes, as of, the end of 2021, it's not going to be slowing down anytime soon. So I think that what you're seeing right now is going to be pretty much what you're going to see. I don't foresee the housing market crashing or anything anytime soon, if at all.
Well, that's a shame.
Well, tell me about it.
If you're looking to buy, that's a shame.
If you're looking to buy, absolutely. Yeah. From an investment standpoint, it sucks. But yeah, just FYI, I don't want you to be holding out, waiting for a deal when the deal never comes. And then you're kind of just stuck on the sideline, waiting when you should have got in earlier.
It hurts to see people paying these ridiculous prices for these houses. It just hurts me to see that. And I just can't bring myself to do it, even though I'm paying rent, which is certainly kept burning money. But
right. Well, with inflation that's happening and the amount of money that's been printed off by our government just injected into the economy, there's just so much more money out there now that I don't see prices coming down. So be hunting for a deal if you can, if there is any. Is the Vegas housing market pretty ridiculous?
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Houses are staying on the market for days and they're going for double, or maybe not double, but a lot more than you would expect. So what was $300,000 5 years ago is $800,000.
Oh, ridiculous. Dear Lord, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
It's out here. But it's people who bought those houses then are cashing out and they're doing great.
Of course they are. Yeah.
I would too past then.
Absolutely. I mean, this housing market has made people millionaires. Yeah. So what's your overall financial goal here? I mean, if this practice takes off, what are you envisioning here? What's kind of your goal with it?
My goal would be to do it until I get bored with it and then potentially sell it or cash out in some manner and live my life between several different houses and not really and live a life of leisure. Isn't that everyone's dream?
Well, sure. All right. Well, what about more realistic short-term goal here? Maybe just like 2 years.
2 years. I feel like us. I just kind of want this to be my side gig thing until it proves otherwise. I'm under contract here where I'm at for another year and a half, and so if it does something drastic in a year and a half, I will welcome it. If it does not, then that's fine too. So I'm stable and happy. So if it blows up, it blows up. If it doesn't, it's a fun side gig. Sure. I prefer treatment over women any day of the week. So it's always, it's a great side gig for me.
It's much easier to treat men.
It definitely is.
It really is. I hate to say it. Yeah, I think most people listening could probably agree to that. Well, do you have any other questions or concerns about the men's health practice? Do you need any other help with any kind of financial goals or anything else?
I think the only question I have is so I've soaked up almost everything you have to offer in your courses. I'm working on the second course now. Is there someone that you trust or some entity that you trust where I could learn more about men's health and do this properly and not hurt people?
Sure. So the endocrinology and the urology guidelines are good sources.
So I read those.
Yeah, they're good. The evaluation, the contraindications, adverse effects, everything that you need to know are in those guidelines. The only thing that those guidelines really do a disservice for is just how they define low testosterone and what the treatment goals are. So outside of those guidelines, testosterone replacement therapy is so easy.
It is. There's just so many variables that are just silly. And I feel like it is, I've belonged to a couple of these Facebook groups, basically as like someone who watches other people do things. And, sure. And what I see is just a lot of misinformation thrown around in those groups and a lot of people getting things illegally that I'm a bit worried about, people bulking at the price. And maybe that's just me kind of going down a rabbit hole that I should just stay out of. And then it's just so many different consensus. Do you do sub-Q injections? Do you do IM injections? And from what I read, it really doesn't make much difference. And it's kind of one of those things. So, but there's just so many variables. And you see one guy that says you should never give an AI and another guy that says they give AIs every week. So it's just...
And AIs are aromatase inhibitors. So basically they just decrease the man's estrogen levels. If they're having estrogenic side effects, treat them with an AI. If they're not, don't treat them with an AI. It's that simple.
Yeah, some of these cookie cutter places, my fella goes to one because I don't feel right treating him, so I send him elsewhere. But yeah, they would just give him an AI just because of a number on his labs, but he wasn't having any side effects.
Yeah, it's unnecessary. You're treating the patient. You're always treat the patient, not a number.
Okay, I'm going to try to stick to that. I'm going to try not to go down these rabbit holes.
Ingrain that into your mind. Remember that. You're treating the patient. You're not treating a number. If I've seen guys come in before with testosterone levels of 280, 300, and they're not having any symptoms. They don't need it.
Okay.
I'm treating the patient, right? I'm not treating a number. So really just be ingrain that concept in your mind. It'll really help you through your career as a nurse practitioner. It really will.
It will, yes. Okay, I will do that.
And try to keep it as simple as possible. A lot of people online on Facebook groups, with most things in life, people tend to overcomplicate things. And in reality, life is pretty simple. It really is, right? And so if you look at it from more of a simplified standpoint, then it just tends to make your life easier. All you're doing is just giving this person testosterone. You're getting their level up past a level to where they feel good again. And then you're going to monitor for a couple side effects. That's pretty much it. There's really not much to it. These people on these Facebook groups complicate this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I definitely have gone down that rabbit hole and just let it overtake me here and there.
Yeah. Sometimes it's better not to even get on those things and read that stuff.
Well, considering that their ads aren't going to help me, maybe I should just drop it altogether.
Yeah, social media is just, in general, it's probably not the most healthiest thing in the world.
It is not. It's a serious time suck.
It definitely is. The illegal things, I guess, what concerns you there? Do you feel like some guys might be like getting treatment from you and then also buying some illegal stuff and stacking things, or what?
Yeah, I worry about that a little bit. I had a primary care patient come in and said that, yeah, that's more than one actually, that if they just get it from their buddy who isn't using as much, they just share their dose with their friend. I guess if they're signing their consent forms and they're attesting that they won't do that. And of course, if I'm monitoring their labs and their side effects and their numbers, I should be able to see that, I assume, if someone is not doing something proper.
Correct. It's just common sense, right?
Yeah, but I'm sure that I will encounter that.
Oh, no, you will. It is a controlled substance after all. There is going to be diversion, just like with any other controlled substance. Okay. So you have to do your due diligence with it. That's why I'm saying, 150, 200 milligrams a week is really not necessary in most guys. If someone's on 200 milligrams a week, chances might be higher that they're going to be diverting it. It's just like giving someone 90 Percocet a month when in reality, they only need 30.
Yeah, I guess that's maybe one of the problems because I don't know what the average dose would be other than what I see other people taking and what they say they're taking. I don't, I know some people that are on very, very low doses, and I know most people that I have talked to are in the 150 to 200 range. Maybe not talked to. Most people that I have seen, maybe they post their dose on Facebook and this is what they're doing and this is my dose and that's this guy's dose and they just kind of talk about it. That's kind of my idea of what their average dose is, but I'm obviously way off on that.
Yeah, 80% of my patients are on about 120 milligrams a week.
Okay.
And then I have a few guys who are on higher doses. This is another rule of thumb right here with testosterone replacement therapy. The bigger the guy, the more testosterone they're probably going to need.
Bigger as in muscle, or bigger as in fat, or bigger in general?
Just bigger in general. I mean, it's more tissue they have that needs more testosterone, right?
Okay.
I mean, it's just kind of common sense, you know what I mean? Like, just like physics. If they're a bigger person, they're probably going to need more, right?
Yeah.
Just like they're going to need more calories to maintain their body habit as compared to someone who's only 150 pounds. That's been what I have seen. So you get this big burly fireman that comes in, who's 280 pounds, 6'4". That guy is probably going to need closer to 200 milligram a week compared to the 130 pound English professor.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So just kind of use some common sense there with that. And that should, guide you.
Okay. Well, then I will, definitely rethink my starting dose then. So my starting dose was in the 120 range. So I think my starting dose for new T patients should be in the 100 then, 100 milligrams.
Yeah. I mean, new T patients, I would start them on 120 milligrams and just follow up in 8 weeks and recheck their labs.
Okay.
Just keep it simple. Do you have any other questions?
I do not.
Okay. Well, I hope this helped you out. I hope that, you're literally just getting started. So you're going to have all kinds of questions, problems, speed bumps along the way here over the next, 3 to 6 months. So I think everyone would love to maybe do a follow-up call in 6 months or something like that and see kind of where you're at.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I would love that.
Cool.
Yeah. Whether it takes off or whether it flops, we'll see.
Hey, you never know until you try. I mean, that's the thing with business. You never know. You just have to start and see what happens.
Right. And so many people fail more than once before they find their thing. So it's good. It's a learning process for sure.
Right. My first business failed. I learned a lot from that, but you took a course and you're doing this part-time. So the chances of you not failing, I would say, are a lot lower than what my chances were. I kind of just jumped into it. I had no damn clue what I was doing.
Well, I did the house calls thing, which was pretty much, it just wasn't the right model. So it's not sustainable for most people. So I got my feet wet there and I've realized.
Got your feet wet.
Yeah, it's not what I need to do with my time.
Right. You can make more money and help more people doing something else for sure.
Yeah, and it's cash, even better.
It's cash, right? You don't have to worry about Medicare and Medicaid and insurance crap. No, cool. No, I think we should definitely follow back up in 3 to 6 months and see where you're at.
Okay, I'd love that. I just want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate your guidance and all of your courses. And you just you gave me all the tools to move forward. So I appreciate that.
No, it's a pleasure. And I thank you very much for hopping on this call. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And I'll talk to everyone later. Thanks.
Thanks. See you later.
I hope everyone enjoyed that episode with Shawnna. She literally just got started with her men's health practice and mostly just needed a little bit of a pep talk before she got going. I think everyone needs to walk away from this episode realizing that sometimes it's best to just start off very small while maintaining a income source outside of that business. So as a part-time job or a full-time job. Having a small business and having a job at the same time is the most optimal way to start business. Thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs have done the same thing. It increases your financial security immensely because you do not have to worry about the income from the business supporting your life. It's very low risk. Everyone listening to this right now can start a little side hustle while still working full time. There's very little to risk here. Shawnna invested $5,000 into this. There is no question in my mind she will make that back within just a few short months. If she continues down this path, within 1 year, I suspect Shawnna could easily be making $5,000 to $10,000 a month in side income from this little side hustle. She will make more money in just 12 to 20 hours a month than she ever would picking up extra shifts and enriching someone else. So I want everyone to walk away from this realizing that sometimes it's best to just jump right into it without a real significant plan and just get started. That's the number one thing, is just get off your ass and get started. She just got started and she's already seen a couple patients basically. And from here on out, it's going to just be growth. So I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. I'll talk to everyone later. Thanks. Bye. Thank you for listening to the show. Quick legal disclaimer. The content of this podcast is meant for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as legal, financial, medical, regulatory, or practice-specific advice. For information pertaining to your specific legal, financial, medical, or practice-specific needs, please be sure to consult with your lawyer, CPA, medical director, and/or your state's practice laws and the most up-to-date clinical guidelines. As always, do your due diligence when it comes to any information found online and in podcasts. The content in this podcast is copyrighted by Galaxy Medical Southwest 2022 and cannot be duplicated, rebroadcasted, or reproduced without our written permission.